Hey folks, this is Zach Osterman. This is Inside Indiana Extra Innings, and this is me flying solo because Alex had to run home. But this is talking about Indiana going to Omaha. Indiana is going to the College World Series for the first time in history. I think the College World Series has been around since 46 or 47, but this will be Indiana's first ever trip, and this is the closest they'd ever come. They'd never been to a super regional round. In fact, the best they'd ever done was win one game in the regional round, 1996. But this year they sweep not only their regional in Bloomington, but their super regional at Florida State, which I believe, if unless I'm mistaken, as a program averages more wins per season, more than 40, than any other program in history. But Indiana swept them, and in doing so, I think the two big takeaways from, from this weekend for Indiana, at least on the field, not sort of counting the history made or whatever you want to say, the pitching struggled, and that's going to be a concern, although the stadium in Omaha is, what's the TD Ameritrade, is, from what I understand, pretty pitcher-friendly. But Indiana, really what Indiana struggled with was they got a lot of hitters to two-strike, and they couldn't get them out. And that's going to be a problem whether you're in a hitter's park or a pitcher's park. FSU is a tough matchup lineup-wise. I think probably about as tough, if not tougher than any other lineup Indiana will see this postseason, just because the Seminoles are so disciplined at the plate. They take a lot of pitches. They're willing to test an umpire's strike zone to see if he's going to call what corners he's going to call, how high his strike, how tall his strike zone is. They're really willing to just be very patient at the plate, to foul a lot of pitches off before they really attack something. They'll go 6, 7, 8 pitches into at bat. They don't have a problem with it. And the problem with Indiana's staff, the one sort of weakness, the one thing it doesn't really have is an out pitcher. It doesn't have anybody on its staff that's got just one devastating out pitch that once he gets a guy to 2 strikes, he throws that, and consistently that's it. You just can't be touched. Ryan Halstead's got a nice little mix with his fastball, breaking ball, and Will Corson-Carr actually today, and Joey Donato does too when it's getting across. Mix the breaking ball in well in those situations, but there's not really anybody on Indiana's staff that has that just sort of guaranteed 2-strike pitch. But the flip side is, I think Indiana should go into Omaha feeling like, quite frankly, it should hit anyone. They put up 21 runs on Florida State had the second best. Sorry, that's my phone buzzing if you can hear it. Florida State had the second best team ERA in the ACC this year. The ACC, I'm trying to think, Florida State, Virginia, I think had 3 national seeds. Consistently puts teams both in the national seed column and also just in the tournament in general. Florida State has consistently been one of the best in the ACC over a number of years. They know how to win at that level. They'd won, I think, 47 games coming into this weekend, so it wasn't like this was a down year for Florida State. They were 7th out of 8 national seeds, but you're still one of the top 8 teams in a 64-team field in the NCAA postseason. That's not really not a distinguished whatever. Sorry, kind of lost my train of thought there, but they took Florida State's 2 best starters and they roughed both of them up. Luke Weaver and Scott Seitz made a pitch to combine, I think, 10 1/3 innings this weekend, and between them they gave up 11 earned runs, which is pretty remarkable. And sorry, phone's still buzzing again. But what really, I guess, Indiana should probably take from that is that Weaver is a power pitcher. Weaver is sort of the number 1 guy in the rotation anywhere. He's a guy that can run his fastball up to 93, 94 with a little bit of movement, and he can place it really well. And then he mixes in his secondary pitches. I think Doug Glanville probably called them secondary pitches 3 or 4 dozen times this weekend. But he mixes in, sort of his second and third pitches really well behind that fastball. Seitz is much more, and you saw this when he settled in today. He does have a nice little fastball, but he's much more of a guy that wants, he's an out guy, and he'll pitch to contact when he has to, and He can strike you out. He can overpower you a little bit, but he can also just locate you to death. He can pick you to death. And you saw when Indiana, they got 4 runs in the first, and then they had a 2-run homer off of him in the fifth. Between that, I think he set down something like 11 of 12 batters, something in that range. And you saw him just kind of get into that rhythm where it's not necessarily that he's trying to overpower you with just a dominant fastball, but he's trying to beat you with the fastball, breaking ball, off speed. He's trying to beat you by mixing everything up. And Indiana still put 6 runs on him and put some pretty good swings on him. At this point, I'm not sure there's a power hitter. I'm not sure there is a power combination that anybody's going to want to face less than Kyle Schwarber and Sam Travis. I think you can make a really solid case for that, quite frankly, going into Omaha. And I'm not saying Indiana is the team to beat by any means. They're certainly not going to be the favorite. We don't know the whole field yet. LSU's qualified, UCLA's qualified, and a number of other teams might clinch today, including Louisville, still leading Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt, up 1-0 in that series. So if indeed they win that game, then Indiana will face Louisville for the 4th time this year to open the College World Series, because those are the 2 super regionals that feed into each other in Omaha to start off in Omaha. But what Indiana should take away from this weekend is that they can compete essentially with anyone. Any pitching staff that's going to come to the College World Series, no matter who's there. The pitching is a concern, and the defense was a problem again today. It's been a problem a lot of the year. But you do get a feeling like this team is probably going to go into Omaha as relaxed as it's been all postseason. I think there's probably going to be a feeling like we expect to be here, we believe we're supposed to be here. But at the same time, we're not going to come in here and put undue pressure on ourselves because we recognize how far we had to come to get here. But, there is, one way or the other, even if Indiana just gets swept out of Omaha, and that's possible too. Just about anything's possible in the College World Series. It's been a pretty remarkable season, and it's really been a pretty remarkable run here. If you consider, the 2009 Big Ten tournament when Indiana swept through that, and they won 4 games in a row by I think something like a combined 37 runs. You got the sense that Tracy Smith was capable of building a program, and Ohio State got that sense, and Maryland got that sense. They both pursued him for openings after that 2009 Big Ten tournament. But that team lost a lot. That team lost 7 draft picks, 3 first-round guys, and the next sort of cycle really wasn't able to put it together enough to get through the Big Ten tournament, get back to the NCAA tournament, win a Big Ten tournament or an outright or a regular season Big Ten title, much less an outright title. But this iteration of Indiana has kind of come together in the last 2 to 3 years when you consider sort of the leadership roles that guys like Michael Basil and Justin Curitin have stepped into, and then you consider kind of the development certainly of Joey Donato, of Aaron Slagers, of Ryan Halstead, and then the addition of Schwarber and Travis, Kyle Schwarber and Sam Travis last year as freshmen. It's been impressive to see how much it's all come together, and not even departing from the original narrative of all of this happened at Simbauer Field. All of this was when Indiana was recruiting to Simbauer Field and trying to convince these kids, we will have a new stadium. We promise you we will. Tracy Smith recruited Josh Fagley, who's now in AAA with the White Sox, to that same promise. But he was able to assemble this team, which I don't think anyone can argue anymore is good enough to go to Omaha. I was sitting next to Aaron Fitt from Baseball America in March, and we just all kind of wondered aloud when they were beating Louisville, I believe. Louisville or Miami of Ohio, I don't remember. It was a midweek game, and we all just kind of wondered aloud, is Indiana good enough to go to Omaha? And he said they sure look like it, and he was right. I think that's what's really, if you think about it just in terms of this year, what's most impressive is the way that this team has come together in a place. Simbauer Field or no Simbauer Field, Indiana baseball history is threadbare. It's they'd been to the NCAA tournament twice before this. They were combined, I think, 1-4 in the NCAA tournament. They hadn't won a Big Ten regular season title since 1949. They hadn't won an outright title since 1932. And that's the Big Ten hadn't sent anyone to the College World Series since 1984. So it has been so long. for Indiana and for the Big Ten to be this relevant and this good. And at this point, I think we really have to wonder, is there even an argument that this is the best team in Indiana history? I think it probably is the best team in Indiana history, pound for pound. And I think it's a team that can, I'm not saying it will, but I do believe that it is a team that can do damage in Omaha. I mean, I really do believe that. And I think that if winning at Dick Howser Stadium in Tallahassee, if beating that Florida State team, and in particular roughing up that Florida State pitching rotation, won't prove it to you, then I'm really not sure what will. But one way or the other, Indiana is going to Omaha. I'm sitting here, I'm watching the Vanderbilt-Louisville game. 2 outs with Vanderbilt's got 2 outs and a runner on first, down 2-1 in the top of the 7th. Just like Indiana, they were just like the IUFSU, they were, for whatever reason, at home. They had to be the road team today. It's just an NCAA rule that's strange. One way or the other, if Louisville wins this game, then that's who Indiana plays starting in the College World Series. Times and dates not necessarily announced yet. It will start next weekend, but they have to figure out who all is in the field before they map out all the different matchups and TV lineups and things like that. One way or the other, Indiana will play the winner of this series. And we'll obviously, have coverage for you, whatever happens. And Indiana's playing all the way to Omaha. That's something pretty new. And it ends, whatever happens there, it will be the end of a pretty remarkable season for Indiana athletics when you consider the men's soccer national title, the Big Ten, the baseball outright title in the Big Ten. And then also this plus Derek Druin and Andy Bayer and some other individual, achievements, particularly in track and field. It's been a pretty remarkable year. So we'll be back with more coverage very soon. Thank you for listening to me basically talking into a computer by myself. And you've been watching Inside Indiana Extra Innings is, I guess, what we're calling this now. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.